Hello everyone, my name is Nick Infernus and welcome back to another comic book review. I tell you, the Transformers movie reviews that I have done on this channel are cursed, in the sense that I can never get them out on time. Case in point, the subject of today's video, Transformers 1, I watched this movie a few days after it came out, and here I am doing a review of it almost a full month after the fact. Now, granted, that could just be because my life has gotten really busy, and honestly, the details themselves could probably warrant a community post. But at the same time, I do wish that that I could have reviewed this sooner, because if any movie this year needed legs, it was this one. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but this isn't exactly doing the best at the box office. In fact, from what I've heard, this is probably the lowest performing Transformers movie, which is honestly a shame because this might just be the best one. No, this movie is not overhyped. It's actually excellent. And why is it excellent? Well, I'd say the honor of making it that way, would go to the story and the characters. While yes, this is the Oops All Cybertron movie that we've been waiting for a long time. There's a dog barking outside my house. Hopefully that doesn't get picked up. Shouldn't. Noise cancellation is pretty good. Anyways, while this is the Oops All Cybertron movie that we've been waiting for a long time, because I think most of us were getting a little tired of seeing the humans in every movie, what this movie is really about is the crumbling of a friendship due to the two people involved having differing viewpoints and worldviews. You have Orion Pax, who becomes Optimus Prime, who's a lot more adventurous and willing to break protocol. And then you have D16, who becomes Megatron. This isn't a spoiler, by the way. I think we all know this going into the movie. Who's more by the books. And because of the way that they react to a pivotal moment halfway through the movie, without spoiling too much of it, the way they react to it matches very well with the way they've lived their lives and how they view the world, and it's ultimately what leads to the downfall of their friendship. And despite this being a pretty complex story for a movie, it's able to tell it pretty well, and I'd argue to the best of its ability, in a movie that has the runtime of the Marvels. This movie is like 100 something minutes long. It's like 100 and then a single digit, like 107 if I had to guess from the top of my head. So overall, a pretty short movie, probably the shortest of the Transformers movies. I don't remember if the 86 movie is shorter. Either way, this is still one of the shorter ones. And yet it's able to tell a more compelling story than any of the other Transformers movies to come out so far. Which, if I'm being honest, that's pretty damn impressive. And sure, the runtime causes some problems, but it's nothing that really deducts from the movie's overall score. Another thing that is really helping this movie is Sentinel Prime. Now, again, I'm not going to spoil too much about him, other than the fact that he is part of the pivotal moment that starts the snowball effect that leads to the Optimus and Megatron falling out. But he is an excellent character in this movie, both because he's very well written to where he can play to where he's very well written, and John Hamm does an excellent job playing this multifaceted character. Like, of the cast that was first leaked, he was probably the one that I had the most confidence in. Him, Lawrence, and Brian were the ones that I was the most confident in because they're all very good actors. But speaking of Brian Tyree Henry, damn does this guy kill it as Megatron. He does a really good job at both being the chill best friend who's willing to put up with Pax's bullshit, as well as being almost as well as portraying that anger that he feels in his lead up to becoming Megatron. He was easily the actor that I had the most confidence in going into this movie, mostly because of his performance as Phastos in Eternals, and boy, he did not disappoint. And speaking of not disappointing, everything aesthetically about the movie is just fantastic. The visuals look great. I mean, I'm sure that's to be expected when it's a completely CG movie where there's no live action. So basically, the animators have free reign to make it look as good as they want. I know that's not how budget works, leave me alone. But it's a gorgeous looking movie, and all the designs look great. There's also a lot of little Easter eggs throughout, a lot of different characters, especially during the Icon 500. There's a lot of different names. Like I remember, I think I saw Slingshot in there, Firestar, I think, was in there. I don't remember all of them, granted, but of course, there's also the occasional Autobot cameo with Wheeljack, Hound, Jazz, Ratchet. I actually couldn't tell if it was Ratchet or Prowl because they looked so similar. It might have been Prowl, but yeah, there's a lot of nice little cameos, and pointing them out throughout the movie was a fun little game of, I guess, Where's Waldo, if you want to call it that. Yeah, the score is also great. I mean, that's not very surprising when they got the composer of Transformers Prime to do this movie, but also I've listened to the Transformers 1 theme more times than I'd like to admit. It's just it's a really good theme done by a really talented composer. And correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't he do like one of the Phase 2 movies in the MCU? He did either Iron Man 3 or Thor the Dark World, one of those two. Now, while this movie is fantastic, there are a couple of issues. I guess one thing that's not too much of an issue, but I think could have been done better, is that Elita and Bumblebee don't really feel like they have as much of a purpose in this movie as Optimus and Megatron. Now, again, that's not really a flaw because obviously they're not going to have as big of a role as the two main characters, but as characters, they do feel just a little bit flat. But I'd argue that the bigger issue here is the runtime. Despite the fact that the movie did a really good job of handling the story that it has in the runtime that it has, it does also feel like it's covering more material than would be appropriate for a 100-minute movie. Like this feels like honestly, this movie kind of feels like Captain America and like Captain America Civil War. I was about to say the Winter Soldier. No, not that. But this movie kind of feels like Captain America Civil War. And that movie did the same kind of thing of the two allies who had a falling out, but that was like 150 minutes or somewhere in that range. This is almost half of that. If I had to estimate, it's actually not, but yeah, this is like 50 minutes shorter, and it does feel like it's moving at a faster pace than it should be. It still executes it to the best of its ability, but it definitely needed at least 10 to 20 more minutes to really make the shift from D16 to Megatron feel a bit more smooth, because I will admit it can feel a little jarring at times, but not too much to overall break the movie. So yeah, like I said at the beginning, this is easily one of, if not the best Transformers movie. It's a shame that it's not doing the best at the box office, because this movie is absolutely worthy of the kind of legs that Guardians Volume 3 ended up getting. And just like this movie will also be getting a 5 out of 5. Is it better than Bumblebee? I'd say so. And so far that's the only other Transformers movie to warrant this rating. But like that one, I'd argue that this one earned it as well. But anyways, guys, that's going to be it for my long overdue review of Transformers 1. If you enjoyed, feel free to subscribe and like for more fun content. See you guys in the next video. Take care, and Godspeed.